Andre Thomas fatally stabbed his wife, his 4-year-old son, and his 1-year-old stepdaughter to death in 2004. While waiting for trial, he removed his right eye with his bare hands, and after he was sentenced while in prison, he removed the left eye and ate it. Matthew Lee Johnson walked into a convenience store, robbed it, then poured bleach on the 76-year-old attendant and set her on fire. Fidencio Valdez lured a man into his car for a drug deal, then shot him in the head. Ronald Haskell executed his ex-wife's sister, her husband, and their 5 children while trying to track down his ex-wife. Ramiro Ibarra broke into a home, brutally assaulted a 16-year-old girl, and strangled her to death. William Davis was a former nurse convicted of killing over 4 patients by injecting air into their arteries and veins after they received surgery. Carlos Ayestas broke into the home of a 67-year-old woman, brutally beat her, and strangled her to death before stealing her belongings. Otis McCain fatally shot an innocent police officer sitting in his patrol car writing a traffic ticket. Lucky Ward is a serial killer who strangled 2 people to death. Brandon McCall shot and killed a Richardson police officer. He also killed his roommate. Eugene Broxton shot a newly wedded couple during a robbery in their motel room and killed the bride. Kimberly Cargill murdered her son's babysitter, who was also mentally disabled, to prevent her from testifying in a child protective case. Sandoval Gustavo and accomplice shot and killed an off-duty patrol agent. Damian Mosley shot and killed a gas station clerk during a robbery. Travis Green sexually assaulted and murdered a 19-year-old woman in 1999. Jamal Howard robbed a convenience store and shot the clerk in the chest. Killing her, he took $114 after the shooting. Carrie Allen sexually assaulted and murdered a 2-year-old girl in her home while taking care of her and her siblings. Pablo Melendez fatally shot a man during a robbery in 1994. Robert Woodard attempted to rob a convenience store and shot both owners when they couldn't open the register fast enough. Joseph Pristash acted as the middleman in the 1994 murder for hire of a woman. He arranged for a hitman to kill her. Christopher Love was hired as a hitman to murder his client's ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend, a Dallas dentist. He ambushed and executed her in a parking garage. Clarence Jordan shot and killed a 26-year-old convenience store clerk in 1977 during an armed robbery. Arturo Aranda fatally shot a police officer during a drug bust in 1976. Willie Washington shot and killed 2 grocery stores attendants. Nelson Wayne Mooney murdered a 71-year-old man during a robbery in Houston. Emmanuel Kemp Jr. hijacked a Fort Worth transit bus, ordered the driver to drive around while sexually assaulted and murdered a passenger. Victor Saldano kidnapped and executed a 46-year-old man in 1996. Warren Rivers brutally assaulted and stabbed an 11-year-old boy to death in Houston. Hector Acosta murdered and ripped off his roommate's head. He also killed his girlfriend in 2017. Howard Lewis was convicted of murdering his 18-month-old son by hanging him over a bathroom door and beating the child's grandmother to death. Anthony Medina was convicted in 1996 for the fatal shooting of 9-year-old and 15-year-old children in Houston. Dillian Compton sexually assaulted and murdered a correctional officer in Abilene Prison. Ali Irsan, a Jordanian immigrant, murdered his daughter's husband and her best friend in an honor killing, and planned on killing his daughter after his daughter left his strict household and converted to Christianity. Isidro de la Cruz slit the throat of his ex-girlfriend's 5-year-old daughter as revenge against the child's mother for leaving him. Jason De La Cerda brutally tortured and murdered his girlfriend's 4-year-old daughter in 2011. In 2015, William Hudson brutally murdered 6 people on a camping trip. Billy Tracy brutally beat up and killed a correctional officer while serving a life sentence. Amos Wells fatally shot his pregnant girlfriend, her mother, and her 10-year-old brother in 2013. In 2007, while attempting to escape from a Texas prison, John Falk caused the death of a correctional officer. Demond Bluntson fatally shot his 21-month-old son and his girlfriend's 6-year-old son in 2012. Mark Gonzalez fired 46 shots at sheriff's patrol vehicle, striking the officer 26 times and killing him at the scene. James Calvert fatally murdered his ex-wife in 2012, kidnapped their son, and fled the state. Paul Hall fatally stabbed and shot a 68-year-old man and attacked his wife in their home during a burglary invasion. Eric Williams, a former justice of the peace, and his accomplice murdered Kaufman County District Attorney and his wife after being prosecuted for theft in 2010. Stephen Thomas sexually assaulted and murdered a 73-year-old woman in her home. Fabian Hernandez fatally shot his ex-wife and her new boyfriend. Damon Trell Miller murdered his girlfriend's 2-year-old son by striking him with his hand, kicking him till he died. In 2007, Paul DeVoe fatally shot 5 people, including his ex-girlfriend, her boyfriend, her 15-year-old daughter, and a 17-year-old visitor. Eric Cathy kidnapped and executed 20-year-old Christina Castillo in 1995. James Broadnax shot and killed a man during a robbery. Leja Mays Norman and his accomplice fatally shot and killed 3 individuals during a robbery. Carlos Trevino and his 3 friends sexually assaulted and murdered a 15-year-old girl. Darlie Routier was convicted of murdering her 5-year-old son in their home. Paul Slater fatally shot 2 men during a drug-related incident in Houston. Erica Shepard and her accomplice murdered 43-year-old Marilyn during a robbery. Michael Gonzalez murdered his elderly neighbors during a burglary at their home. Scott Panetti, who had a history of schizophrenia, shot and killed his in-laws in their apartment in 1992. Ruben Gutierrez and his accomplices stabbed and beat up an 85-year-old woman to death. Charles Thompson was convicted of murdering his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend in 1998. Joel Escobedo shot and killed a man during a robbery at a Houston bus stop. In December 2011, Brian Suniga and an accomplice attempted to rob a restaurant. During the robbery, he fatally shot a 26-year-old male employee. Linda Carty abducted and murdered 25-year-old lady to steal her newborn son. In March 2004, Raul Cortez fatally shot 4 individuals during a robbery in McKinney. Rafael Cubas murdered 2 women and a 15-year-old girl after kidnapping and sexually assaulting them. Randy Halprin, who was among the Texas 7 escapees, tried to escape from prison and fatally shot and killed a police officer. Stephen Staley and his 2 accomplices fatally shot and killed a restaurant manager during a botched robbery, 1989. Darrell Wheatfall and his accomplice invaded the home of an elderly couple over a $50 debt and fatally shot the couple. Brian Davis murdered a 31-year-old intellectually disabled man at his humble apartment. William Mason brutally murdered his wife in 1991 after a domestic dispute. Milton Gobert. Milton brutally stabbed Mel Cotton 107 times during an attempted robbery and kidnapping. Armando Leza and his accomplice stormed into the home of a woman who owed them drug money, bound her to her bed, and brutally stabbed her. Mabry Landor gunned down a Houston police officer who pursued him after a routine traffic stop. As the officer fell from the initial gunfire, Landor approached and gave him another 2 shots to the head. Rodney Reed was convicted of the 1996 sexual assault and murder of a woman whose strangled body was found along a rural road in Texas. Dexter Johnson brutally abducted and murdered a young couple during a robbery in Houston. Joseph Gamboa killed a 72-year-old man and a 54-year-old man during a robbery. Paul Story shot and killed a man during a 2006 robbery at a mini golf course in Fort Worth. Christopher Jackson robbed a man at gunpoint, stole his vehicle, then returned moments later and shot him dead. Tylen Carter and an accomplice broke into the home of an 89-year-old man. They bound him with duct tape, robbed him, and left him restrained, leading to his death. George McFarland fatally shot and killed the 43-year-old owner of C&Y grocery store in Houston. George Curry shot and killed a restaurant employee during a robbery in 2009. Naeem Muhammad abducted the mother of his children, along with their 2 young sons. He took them to a creek and mercilessly held them under water until they stopped struggling. Luckily, the mother managed to escape. Joe Luna choked a 21-year-old man to death while robbing his home in 2005. Gerald Marshall and 3 accomplices robbed a restaurant. During the robbery, he fatally shot a 38-year-old employee in the head. Page Lawyer brutally strangled his ex-girlfriend and her 10-year-old daughter. Pete Russell, consumed by vengeance, brutally stabbed a 40-year-old woman to death in Houston. Julius Murphy shot and killed a 26-year-old man during a robbery in 1997. Alan Bridgers fatally shot a 53-year-old woman in the throat while living in her home. John Thusen shot and killed 2 individuals, a 21-year-old female and a 23-year-old male in 2009. Jerry Elders shot and killed a police officer during a routine traffic stop. He then stole a 60-year-old woman's car after fatally shooting her while trying to run away. Turner Christopher shot and killed a 62-year-old store attendant in 2024. Ray Freeney sexually assaulted his girlfriend in a motel and stabbed her afterwards. Ronald Hamilton and his accomplice murdered a 6-year-old Iranian male store clerk during a robbery in 2001. Ronald Preibel shot and killed a couple in Houston. In a cruel attempt to cover up the murders, he set their home on fire, unknowingly killing 3 innocent children as they died from the smoke inhalation. Tong Chuang shot and killed an off-duty police officer during the robbery of a food store. Obie Weathers walked into a bar in San Antonio and demanded money from the bartender. When the bartender refused, Weathers pulled out a firearm and shot him, killing him. Guy Allen got into a violent fight with his girlfriend. Seeing the attack, her 19-year-old daughter called the police for help. By the time officers arrived, both women had been brutally stabbed to death. Marcus Drury and his 2 friends lured a 20-year-old man and shot him multiple times, killing him. Walter Sorto and his friends kidnapped and sexually assaulted 2 females and murdered them afterwards. Edward Wardrip fatally stabbed a 20-year-old woman. He is also serving 3 life sentences for 3 other murders. Thank you for watching till the end. Which state would you love me to cover next? Comment below.